What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at XL Drifblim with not one, but two debuff moves in the Open Ultra League. Let's jump right into the battles, because I promise you there's going to be plenty of time to talk this out. So, we get a really nasty lead here on this first game against the Aurorus, so we swap immediately into the double. So the whole point here with my team here is that I'm looking to use two things that have got decent play against Darks, and Ice, and Rock, and basically most of the things that beat Drifblim. Now, Swampert comes in on my loaded double here. My opponent goes for a Meteor Beam and just drops out. So they have a Shadow Swampert, which means that they're going to have to throw their energy immediately, because we have one double kick, which is 2 mud shots. Then we have one double kick, 2 mud shots. So they're going to have to throw right away. It means they'll have no energy left. I will shield this, though, because I have a ton of energy, and I can get to another Body Slam and force that shield right back, and actually get switch if I want to, which is exactly what I need here, because I cannot let my Drifblim be stuck up against that Aurorus, and Double's just going to shrug it off. So I can actually farm down here, because I know it's going to be 5 more to the next move. So I leave with a ton of energy, and I actually have the option to leave with a payback loaded, and I'm going to let it go into this Aurorus, hopefully either getting the next shield, which thankfully we do, so now it's all shields down. And they have Aurorus versus Registeel, and man, there's not really much that they could possibly do in this scenario. I just need to get to a Focus Blast, and the only thing that's on my mind right now is I just need to make sure that they can't catch a move and put me in a bad situation. So I overfarm on purpose, and once I'm sure that they are in the middle of the animation, I'm going to throw the Focus Blast and absolutely just destroy the Aurorus. And the opponent comes in with a Drapion, and I can't even bring in my Drifblim here. My Drifblim has done absolutely nothing all game. This is entirely on the back of Registeel and my double, which, honestly, I mean, they're very strong Pokemon in this Open Ultra League. You got to hit it with the right piece of meta, and this is actually, I try to catch a move here, and I realize I haven't TM'd the Drifblim yet, so it's just going to be Drapion food. I'm going to let it go. Drapion throws 2 moves. They don't even want to risk me getting to a move here, because, you know, me getting to a move at this point would just, they would lose. So they go ahead and just try to get to a crunch here, but thankfully, because they had just thrown all their energy, I'm going to be able to get to this Focus Blast, take out this Drapion, and that's going to be a good game. Now, we're going to try something a little different with the editing today, ladies and gentlemen. So, if you like this, I feel like maybe the X is, I know it's like a signature thing, but it's also really like, I'm really bad at timing. So, let me know in the comments if you think that the editing with transitions is fine, because it makes it a little easier for me. I can focus a little bit more on the footage in front of me instead of having to reach for buttons and use the attention span that I've since lost after handling the little ones all day. So, and speaking of the little ones, I know that Maggie used to be a part of the usual entourage here, but she's usually can't record while she's awake. Too much chaos in the household, if you know what I mean. So we just try and do it when she's asleep. But anyway, I'm standing against the Gliscor here. I can't really swap in my Registeel, because obviously it's, you know, basically I'm walled by Registeel. But after enough attack debuffs, I realized this is probably not going to KO. So I'm gonna try to throw one more Icy when my opponent makes a really nice catch here. Now, thankfully, it doesn't really matter, because I have a Drifblim, or I have a Registeel in the back. So I'm going to load back up to the Icy Wind for later. And then I'm going to drop in my Registeel here, and I mean, there's nothing that my opponent can do about this. This is why I've started to hate Cresselia and anything that gets walled by Steel in the Ultra League again. Because, like, Cobalion, Registeel, like, you can save swap, but these matchups are miserable, dude. Even on my side of it, knowing that I'm going to win this matchup as the Registeel player, this is miserable for me. Because I have to build all the way back up to the Zap Cannon, dude. And unfortunately, there are going to be some long matchups in this video, so I apologize in advance. That's just kind of the nature of the team. We have a tanky team with spammy charge moves. Drifblim's got debuffs, so this is a bit of a grindier team. So if you're into the slower, kind of grindy kind of gameplay, this is for you. Now, I make a really risky move here, because I don't know what's in the back, but I know whatever's in the back is not going to get any farm. It's a Clefable, dude. And they quit. They just said I'm done. So, yeah, I do that because I knew that I could probably swap in and catch really quick. Oh, this game is tragic. So I just went and I just threw the Icy Wind to get rid of the Gliscor because I knew it was going to be a problem, but then my opponent just happened to have Clefable in the back, and Registeel kind of destroys it. So, opponent had a Deoxys in the lead. Commanding lead, they are going to swap out. As a Deoxys player myself, that is definitely a lead where I would be dipping out of as well, because you're literally not going to do anything without Rock Slides, Thunderbolts. So, they come in with a Snorlax, and I don't know if I could have played this better. Maybe if I had just gone for the payback there and KO'd the Snorlax. But this is going to allow the Deoxys to get some farm, and then Drifblim is going to end up eating a Rock Slide, and they do take the payback, which, I mean, I've never seen how much damage that does, but I don't even get my Body Slam off here, which sucks. I'm going to let this go, because even though I know it's super effective, I know that it's Deoxys, and it's not like it's going to KO or anything. And then I'm going to just see what I can do here. My opponent gets to another move, and it's a Psycho Boost. I have to actually shield this one, because this would probably put me in a really low state. And they come in with Registeel, so it's like, all right, I know that I can win this matchup. I have a Registeel in the back. If I can nuke their attack down a couple stages, I should be looking pretty good here. And then I'm just hoping that the alignment of Drifblim versus the Deoxys that currently has no energy will be enough. However, Focus Blast still hurts. Even though it's double debuffed, it still does enough. And while that doesn't seem like much, we both have a shield, and I have to play this very carefully. I have to basically let myself get to a situation where my opponent does not get a bunch of free farm on their Deoxys, and I think I should have shielded this. This was my main mistake. I lose the game now because if you look, my opponent makes a swap here. Instead of letting the Registeel go down, they instantly switch in, and my switch clock is still not up. And that means that I'm going to have to sit here and get farmed down. Even though the opponent's attack has dropped, my Drifblim has no energy. I just need to get to one charge move, and unfortunately, they are now at just under 2 Rock Slides. I still need one more Hex. They still need one more counter. They're going to get to the Rock Slide right before I'm going to be able to get to a charge move, and they're going to take this. That was very well played to my opponent. They did very, very well. That was also a mistake on my part by not shielding that Focus Blast. But, all right, so we got another great lead here, and even though Drifblim doesn't have Shadow Ball, it still does well, and the reason why I like not having Shadow Ball is because it gives me the option to hit Flyers, and it gives me the option to hit Registeel, because these steals are everywhere. I mean, you've seen like 3 or 4 Registeels, and we've only played like 3 or 4 games at this point. So there's plenty of them out there. And when I have Cresselia in the lead, I know that my Registeel just destroys it, so I can actually safely just stay in here with Drifblim, because this is honestly not a horrible matchup for Drifblim. After the opponent's Registeel has taken 2 Mystical Fires, you can just shield once. And honestly, if you want to shield twice, you can too. But the Zap Cannon really doesn't do a whole ton. It's just unfortunate because 66% really feels like 95 when it's me taking the Zap Cannons. But when I'm dishing them out, I almost never get debuffs. Isn't that tragic? It seems to always be that way. Anyway, I have to commit now into this matchup because I cannot swap out. But what I'm looking to do here instead is I'm going to try and come in and get some farm on my double, because the double kicks I can farm down with my opponent comes in with Crest, and it's like, all right, I have to now come in with my Registeel, because my double, I can still deal with double, or deal with Registeel with double. I need to make sure that this Crest cannot do anything to my double, because Crest is resisting the double kick damage, which it's a fast move. It normally doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but when you're looking at the fact of the matter is, over the long course of a fight, if you're resisting fast move damage, that's a little bit less damage that you're dishing out. Whereas if you were able to do, you know, even if it's neutral lock-ons, like everything's neutral lock-ons, but then the fast moves don't matter with Registeel. The charge moves, always hitting and doing debuffs and things like that. It's just going to put me in a position where I might be able to try and leverage some farm off of this Cresselia. So I'm going to see what my opponent wants to do here. I actually just opt to take out the Crest. At this point, the game is beginning to drag on a lot longer than I care for. And they come back in with their Registeel. I still have a shield. So what I'm actually looking to do here is, I was going to try to go for the Focus Blast before they were able to take me out. But instead, what I will do now is I'll pop back in with double, I think, and try to farm down after farming up as much energy as possible. Opponent's got a Scrafty. Doesn't matter. And I'm going to tell you why it doesn't matter. Because my double has more energy, and that is going to give it what it needs to survive I mean, it'll not survive, but it'll give it what it needs to take out this Scrafty. Because Double Kick is doing super effective damage, I will only need now one more Body Slam to take this out, and even a Foul Play isn't going to KO me from here. So that means that we're going to be able to take out this Scrafty right now, and then my opponent essentially has to throw a charge move and then get another charge move. They're not going to be able to. So this is going to be able to take out my opponent's Registeel, and that's going to be a good game. And here we go into the next set of battles I did later that evening. Once again into an Aurorus against fellow trainer that I know from Twitter, Wikipedia, which is he's a great battler. So shout outs to him. I don't know him personally. I don't think he and I have ever really directly spoken, but I do follow him on Twitter, and he and I have interacted a couple times. And I guess that's the depth of our relationship. But I know he's a good dude, so I'm gonna go with that and just kind of leave it there. So he's got Aurorus, and I'm already thinking that there's a good chance that maybe he's running like double grass. So I'm kind of expecting Treven at the back. And this really doesn't, this feels bad. But he does let me get to another Body Slam, which may force a shield here, or not. So now instead what happens is I can force switch, which is even better. Because if they do have a Trevenant, I don't want it against my Registeel. Even though I'll be down to shield, it really, I have to do this. Otherwise, I'm not going to be in a good situation later. But instead, he's got a Golisopod. Now, Golisopod is going to get a gigantic farm down from this. And I can't really justify swapping out, so I'm going to try and get as much damage in as I can here with these Body Slams and let Drifblim do its thing. I've already got the Registeel on the opponent's, on their Aurorus, but I come in with it anyway here because I need to absorb this energy, and Registeel does that fairly well. And even though Drifblim doesn't want to deal with the Aurorus, it does do pretty well as far as like swinging debuffs. So I'm going for this Focus Blast because it's less energy, and I want to be able to possibly, I'm going to get a shield anyway, so why not spend the energy here, or less energy here to get that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the Mystical Fire here into the Aurorus, and the Aurorus can just shrug it off, but it will get an attack drop. So what I'm kind of hoping here is that maybe they don't one-shot me with a Meteor Beam, which they will. This is already a bad deal for me. I should have just come in with my yeah, I just top left here, guys. I should have come into the Golisopod with my Drifblim and tried to make it work that way, because by allowing my Registeel to absorb those liquidations, it did too much damage at that point. I had no way to win that game. So this next opponent has a good lead in the Virizion, so they're going to swap in their Charizard to my Drifblim. And what I should have technically done was come straight in with my Registeel. However, I was, it's 9:51 p.m. Just put the kids to bed, and I'm already, I'm just playing because honestly, I just wanted to play some games at that hour. I didn't really feel like going to sleep, despite how tired I probably was. But anyway, so we're going to be able to take out this Charizard if I shield, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to opt for some energy here, hoping that I live this Blast Burn, which thankfully I do. So I'm going to be able to leave this matchup with a Body Slam and a tiny fraction of health, giving the Virizion as little farm as possible and keeping it aligned to Drifblim. One thing that I will note here is that I did know that I was going to survive. Oh goodness, this is terrible. I built up some energy while I'm waiting for my switch clock, and then I'm going to come in with my Registeel. And unfortunately for me here, I do decide to no shield a bit more than I should have. The opponent is just gonna get to keep going for moves here, and I think I lose this one actually, if I remember correctly. Actually, no, I think I win this one. I gotta stop umming. I've noticed that I do that a lot, and I hope it doesn't bother anybody, because it bothers me. All right, so getting back into the action here, I really needed to get the Drifblim to stay on the Aurorus here, but not the Aurora. I need to stay off the Aurorus, so I come in with my Registeel. Unfortunately, with 2 shields, now I'm forced to start shielding Weather Balls, which feels really bad. All right, but I don't think that they're going to be able to take me out here, because even Weather Balls won't fully KO, so I just have to make sure they don't catch. My opponent swapped way too early, and I think that basically gives me the game as long as they're not running Stone Edge. Which they're not. They're running Leaf Blade, which means that I'm going to be able to overload on some energy here, go for the Mystical Fire because I want to use the shiny new move instead. And Mystical Fire is going to do quite a bit of damage. I note that because they're running Leaf Blade, this next Leaf Blade will do a lot less damage, so I go for the extra move instead, knowing that I can get another Mystical Fire loaded up and ready to go to take out the some HP off of that Aurorus when it comes back in, and hopefully make sure that they have a little bit less attack to hit my Registeel with and take it out, because my Registeel is almost at a move, but not quite. So I'm going to have to swap in, go for the Focus Blast right away, and we're going to be kabooming another Aurorus in this video, because that would KO at least 15 Auroruses and their families. So well played to my opponent here. Well played to all my opponents, man. Like, all these games, even though I'm in like the 2400 range, are still really good. So we get a Tentacruel, another good lead here. I have a really good response to their Snorlax safe swap in my double, and this time I'm going to try and play it a little differently. So I'm going to overload a bunch, just kind of waiting to see if they want to go for a superpower or try and throw a body slam at me. Either way, I would rather wait for them to throw, just so that I can get the debuffed damage off. So the Snorlax is going to throw a charge move. They're going to bait me with a body slam here, and I'm just going to go straight for the payback, because I know at this point, if they throw another charge move, I have to respect it and shield. So they just let it go. 2 shields still up. They're going to come back in with their Tentacruel, and I'm just going to let the body slams roll. And what I'm hoping to do here is I'm hoping to get this Tentacruel as low as possible. You know, I do feel like I probably could have swapped back in my Drifblim or the Registeel at some point here, just because this... I gotta stop that, man. Because this Tentacruel will be able to farm up a ton of energy and just let it rip into my Drifblim, I'm actually gonna have to come in with Registeel at some point here in order to absorb the energy, rather than let Drifblim tank it. Because Drifblim's nice, but it's really, really not that tanky. It's tanky enough because it's XL, but it definitely isn't tanky to the point where it would be able to, you know, handle 2 Scalds, I don't think. And if it can, it's not going to be very close. You know, it's going to... Oh, and then they come in with Obstagoon, and this is terrifying. So, what I don't remember. I have to win this, because I know I went 1... No, I think maybe this is a loss. I had 2 1-4s back-to-back, so I know that there's two losses in here somewhere. And I don't care if I have any more at this point. Just gonna have to deal with it. So I'm going to keep going for Mystical Fires here. My opponent's attack is dropping, and I shielded the first one because I assumed that that would be the most damaging one, hoping they just don't get a boost here. And I'm going to throw this next Mystical Fire, and this is what these matchups were, is just me constantly throwing debuff moves. And even though it's, you know, it's Drifblim, so it's not like I was going to be able to throw Shadow Ball into this thing anyway, even if I had it, but I think that the only way that I can really win this here is if I can somehow maneuver all the shields off of this thing, and my opponent swaps. I actually was kind of expecting it, so now my opponent has given me the opportunity to throw these Mystical Fires into the Goon, and that will actually give me the game. If my opponent had just stayed in and committed their shields and just played that out, I know they were probably trying to clear their debuff. I get it, but had they done that, I would have been able to definitely not win this game. All right, so I show them the Icy Wind just because I'm a rude person, and then I'm just going to lock on down their Obstagoon. I didn't mean that as a BM, but that certainly looked like it after the fact while commentating it. So getting another great lead here in the Venusaur. Very awkward lead, because Registeel, like, I have to stay in here. Registeel, it does resist. I guess it's not awkward, but Registeel does resist everything, but it's also being resisted. God, I can't speak. It's also being resisted by everything. So I'm going to stay in here against the Talonflame, and I make a mistake here by going for another move. I probably should have just dropped straight into, like, double or something, but I'm committing in here to the Icy Winds because I'm trying to get my opponent's shields, and I'm hoping that maybe Talonflame doesn't win CMP over Drifblim, but it actually does. So I kind of have to shield this now. And my opponent goes for the Flame Charge here, so their attack's going down and it's going up, and it's a constant cycle, and we're not really getting anywhere. I'm just able to keep their HP in check, but they come in now with a Shadow Charizard, which is interesting. And with this debuff, if I can get the shield here, I know that Registeel can come straight in, but instead I come in with my double like a doofus. And I think I could have definitely come in with my Registeel here, but I did want to save the Registeel for the Venusaur because my Drifblim is starting to get kind of low. So I go straight for payback here, hoping that that's going to be enough damage to take out this Charizard, if not get it very low. And it does. Thankfully we get it low, and that's going to put it down in farm range. And then at this point, it's just up to Registeel and Drifblim to take care of the opposing Venusaur. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start farming up. My opponent is going to go for a charge move. This will definitely take me out. Frenzy Plant and Sludge Bomb are single resisted, but now I have a Registeel, and we are going to try to see what we can do here. My opponent is going to get to multiple moves before I can get to enough. I need 2 Zap Cannons here to KO. So they're going to definitely be able to get to like 2 or 3 Frenzy Plants in the time it takes. I don't know why I'm over farming here. I feel like I should have just thrown the move. I wonder, do they have some? There's some in the back. Yeah, they do. Okay, that's why. They have something in the back. Their Talonflame is sitting in the back with, like, a sliver of HP, so I'm expecting them to possibly swap out to catch a move here, which you're going to see me now. I'm going to over-farm. They're over-farming. I'm over-farming, and I expect them to make that catch, so now I'm going to let the Zap Cannon rip when they come back in. This one Frenzy Plant will not take me out. We're on CMP, and that... I mean, that's a read, right? I mean, you can't always assume that you're going to be able to catch though, but like sometimes you just keep over farming, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to catch, I'm not trying to catch them, but I'm trying to, oh, this last game is against Chillis, my buddy Chillis. So if you guys haven't checked him out, Chillis FM is a content creator here on YouTube. I'm definitely going to forget to link his channel here, but if for some reason I do, I'll link it, but check it out. He's a great dude, great content creator, great battler. He's definitely worth checking out on YouTube here. So my opponent, so in the last game, right? So like you're thinking about, you know, my opponent could swap to catch here. That's always something to keep in the back of your mind. But what I'm really doing, honestly, is I'm trying to just tap the Zap Cannon in the middle of a Vine Whip. And it just so happens that they ended up swapping while I was trying to do that, and I don't end up falling for it. So what I do here is I come in with my Registeel after Chillis has come in with his and gotten a debuff from the Drifblim, and I'll go straight for Focus Blast here, because the Focus Blast, if not going to be completely enough, will leave it very low, and I should, keyword should, hopefully be able to farm this Registeel down and have a charge move loaded for whatever comes in. And that's one of the most powerful things that you can do with your Registeel, is farm something else down like that and have a whole move ready to go for whatever comes back in. And that's going to be that Swampert that's going to come in here. And Swampert, having left with about a Hydro Cannon's worth of energy, just tanks a Focus Blast, still able to hang on, and has to throw a Hydro Cannon in order to take out my Registeel. So now what's going to happen is he's going to I think he undercharged it, or is that just how much damage it actually does? I don't know, but I'm going to shield this up just in case it's the Earthquake, and it is an Earthquake. We call the Earthquake correctly, which was huge. And then he's going to come in with Clefable, and I'm like, okay, well, my Registeel's gone, so I don't really have a wall to this thing anymore, and Drifblim's not exactly up to the task, so I'm going to go for as many body slams as I can. I will let this go because my double is pretty tanky and can definitely take a Moonblast, even though, dude, these Moonblasts from Clefable hurt. Like, if Clefable isn't matched up against a Steel, those Moonblasts hurt, and they come out quick, man. It's like, it has the same counts as Crest for Moonblast. It's 776, so those are going to come out real fast. And it's got Meteor Mash, which is a really good, strong move for other, you know, coverage options, because Steel is a pretty decent type. So he's going to start shielding now. He kind of has to. And he makes a really nice catch on the Swampert. And honestly, I'm kind of glad to get this thing off the board. But I'm going to undercharge it, hoping that I can get some farm on something or force him to throw energy. But since he just threw an Earthquake, he shouldn't have any energy. Now I can farm down with my Drifblim, and I can come in and throw these Mystical Fires and start to get the debuffs rolling. And I know that even a debuffed Moonblast is not going to be enough to KO this Drifblim, and he doesn't have the energy for another one quite yet. So we're going to get to this Mystical Fire here and take out this Clefable, and that is going to be a good game. Well played, Chillis. That was a really good game. Love the Clefable. I love that people are trying to make it work. I think that it's really awesome now that we have fairies that don't just charm things. So that's going to do it for this video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. You can hopefully see, I think I've figured it out how to put the end cards together, but if you guys want to check out teams like this that come out early on my Patreon Discord, if you want to improve your game just by getting tips, inside tricks, and strategies for all the teams that I come out with before they hit YouTube, please consider checking that out and joining at the link below in the video, the pinned comment, description, whatever have you. If you're looking for coaching, you can find me at Medify, and I think that's it. Yep, that's it. Thanks, like and subscribe if you liked it. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.